Mic check, ready to go. Let's get started here. I wanted to share something, a story that Coach Burt shared with us a while back that really, man, it kind of woke me up and kind of reminded me that we only get one chance. Like as Tim's story says, like this is no practice life. He was telling me about a story of a gentleman's family that they called him to speak at the funeral for the man. And Coach said, give me all the information on this guy so I can make sure that we share his story and leave a legacy for him, right? The family came back and said, well, you know what? Like he really didn't do anything like massive. He just was a good guy and he just kind of kept himself and he was a good guy, right? And Coach says like, well, he was just a good guy. Like I can't just go up there and say he's a good guy. Like there has to be something. Well, it turns out there wasn't really much that that he can leave behind as a legacy. And I remember Coach saying, "Man, I don't want to be that. I don't want that to happen to me. I don't want that to happen to my family." And I was like, in my mind, I was like, "Man, me neither. Like that's not gonna happen. It's not me." So I just wanted to share that before we get started. But I have 5 things that I believe will help make an impact in your life. That I've studied many successful people and I've interviewed them and I became good friends with them, and they all share these same kind of experiences, and they all practice these same things. So it's going to be 5 things. There's much more things that apply to success, but these are going to be some of the things that stick out the most to me, and I think they'll help you the most. And so number 1 is going to be facing your fears. And so facing your fear. Number 2 is mental toughness. Number 3 is labeling. Number 4 is who do you want to be? Number 5 is your belief system. And so let's talk about number 1, fear. I was 3 years old, came from a pretty solid family. We had a house, my dad had a job, my mom had a job, my brother was good, my sister was good. My dad took his life in our backyard one night. Our life changed dramatically. Everything just kind of went out of control. From that moment, my mom went into survival mode. Like she just went into this mode. Until this day, she's still in survival mode. She's like always pushing. And she managed to stay there for a whole year at that house where her husband killed himself in the backyard. She managed to pull through that. A year later, she moved us to Corpus Christi, Texas. So we went from Bay City, Texas, population 17,000 to a population 300,000. Big transition, big different kind of environments. So during this transition, my mom was in survival mode. She needed to get a job. She needed to find us a house. She needed to make sure that we had clothes, food, everything, right? To make sure we were taken care of. So I was put into the school system. And as most parents like kind of think is like, man, they're there, they're in good, they're being taught, they're learning. Well, that wasn't my case. Like I wasn't able to fit in. I wasn't really advanced. Like I didn't know how to read, I didn't know how to write. So I was very behind when I got into the school system. And so I never was able to get caught up. On top of that, I was never really able to build relationships. I never had like the childhood friends. I never went over to a friend's house. I just had to like figure things out. During that whole time, we never talked about like what happened with my dad. It was like almost like we had to forget about it. We had to forget and move on. We have to keep going. We have to keep going. That's the past. Keep going. For years, I never knew exactly what happened. I just knew that he took his life. I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to. Whenever someone would mention like dad or where's your dad at, I would just like tense up. I didn't know what to do. So that carried on with me to middle school. When I got to middle school, I still had, the insecurities. I wasn't able to read. I didn't fit in. On top of that, my legal name was Estanislao Medina. They called me Stanley. So I'm pretty sure teachers didn't know like what was going on with me. It wasn't until I got into middle school when girls, more freedom and gangs, that kind of environment came also into my life. So I remember I was never a follower. I never really got cool with like how to like people being in gangs and that kind of environment. And so I was always like the one like causing problems because I never understood it. I just didn't understand it. And I can now I can understand why gangs get together because it's like a fellowship. It's like something that brings them together because maybe they're lost. I don't know, right? But I was never one to follow. Whenever I would have to go home from school, I would either have to find a ride with someone or I would have to run or I would take a different route because I knew that if I ran into the gang members or someone that didn't like me, I was gonna get into a fight or they're gonna try to jump me, right? And so I remember one day I was walking home and I turn around and I see these guys, I think they were from the high school. They started following me and I knew they were gonna beat me up. They were gonna try to beat me up. So I'm walking faster and in my mind I'm thinking, man, like these guys are gonna beat me up. What if, who's gonna call my mom? Like, what if I can't, like, what if they take all my stuff? Like, I was just thinking the worst. I was just thinking. And so I was walking, I was trying to walk faster. And I remember they started throwing rocks. Cause I remember I can hear like, I can see these big rocks, like boom, 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 like beside me. And in my head, I was like, man, these guys are gonna hit me in the head or something. They're gonna make me like a cut or something, right? So that moment, my mind like went almost like it went like blank. I stopped in the middle of the road and I threw my jacket down, I threw my backpack down, and I turned around and I started just running toward these guys, almost like those army movies, the old school army movies where the soldiers are running towards each other, except I was the only one running and these guys were like, what the heck's going on? Like what is he doing, right? Like, is this dude crazy? So I run towards them and I just started fighting. And I remember I was just fighting one guy, the other guy's kicking me and punching me. I jump on this guy, I'm fighting him, and this guy, it continues. I don't know how long, but I just kept going and going and going and going. I just couldn't stop. So much anger in me, right? So they stopped like fighting me, and I got up and I looked at them and I just started like laughing, almost like a crazy laugh, like not like that's like I was just laughing, but I wasn't laughing at them. I was like, it was a laugh with joy because it's almost like this pressure, and I released a lot of tension, not from that, but just from like not understanding like why my life was the way it was. What I didn't know that at that moment was it programmed me on how I approach fear, how I approach things. And so people have said, man, like, I don't see how, like, you're like a risk taker. Like, you're just like, you just go for it. If you're like, you just like, you're fearless. And so I wanted to know why. And so it plays back to that day, right? Because there's three types of people. There's people that face their fear head on, like myself. There's people that, need to visualize. They need to kind of like think about how they're going to do it over and over. And then they kind of feel comfortable to pursue it, right? And there's people that actually need someone to coach them along, like a personal trainer, right? You go to the gym, that personal trainer he's gonna push you so you can start to form that habit, right? And so I believe that if you figure out which category you fall in, that you can grow from that. For example, if you're someone that needs coaching, you need someone that always needs to be pulling you up. Like stick around that person, because what's going to happen is you're going to strengthen that fear muscle. You're going to strengthen it to where you can become one of those persons that's head on. You can start to face that, and maybe you want to excel at a faster pace, right? Maybe you're like, you know what, I want to move a little faster. I want to find someone that likes to execute. If you get around that person that executes, you can learn a lot from them, because a lot of times those people that have gone first are usually the ones with the most wounds. They're usually the ones with the battle scars. You know what I'm saying? As Coach Burt, they're usually the ones that have been battle tested. So you want to get as much information from them, because they've already had the wounds. They already, like, You know, just imagine if you're going to go to war, you want to go to war with someone that has the wounds, that has the experience. Okay, so look, find out where you fall in, because a lot of times we're trying to hit fear head on when that's just not how we're programmed. And a lot of it goes back to our childhood, right? Because our parents programmed us, hey, be careful here. Don't do that. That's going to be too hard. Don't open a business because my friend opened a business and it was a failure. Don't do it. Don't do it. So our fear muscle has been like kind of dampened. So we got to go in there and start working that fear muscle and get it pumping again, okay? Fear muscle. Number 2 is mental toughness. Mental toughness is going to be very powerful because you got to figure out how fast you can bounce back. You know, Dr. Elko was telling us that one of the most things that sticks out about top $1 billion leaders, $1 million leaders is their intent, their capability of bouncing back. Mental toughness. How fast can you bounce back? Whenever you get upset, whenever somebody aggravates you, whenever you hit an obstacle, how fast are you bouncing back? Are you taking days, weeks to bounce back? Because that's an indicator of saying, hey, you know what? I got to make sure I work on this mental toughness, because look, when you go into business, when you go into negotiations, that mental toughness is going to come into play, because you got to know how to bounce back as soon as possible. A couple of top performers, what they do is they'll get on a treadmill and they'll sprint. They'll peak out their heart rate, and then they'll see how fast they can drop it back down. They see how they can control that, because look, when you get into a tense situation, you want to make sure you can control your heart rate. You want to make sure you're present in the moment. Right now I'm at 93. I need to tone it down a little bit. I need to come back and focus, because look, I'll get excited. I want y'all to focus. If y'all get excited, then that might put y'all into a fear state, and then you're not going to be able to grab this information. So I need y'all to relax a little bit. Relax. Let's take it down a little bit. We're good. Mental toughness. Okay, number 3 is going to be mislabeling. So from 3 years old to middle school, all the way to high school, I was given labels by teachers, counselors, principals, all these people of like this is who you are, okay? And so basically they said, based on what we see, this is who you're gonna be. They labeled me, a learning disability. They said I had behavior problems. They said that I had no guidance, father figure guidance. They said that, I'm gonna be raised by a single mom. They said that, they just said all kinds of different things like about me, right? And so when I was younger, I didn't know that was inaccurate information. Because let me tell you, like no one has the authority to really label you, because in reality, no one is really in their right state of mind. And let me explain. I was giving this guy a ride home. He was a client of ours, and I asked him what he did for a living. He said he was the head like counselor for like a mental hospital, right? And I said, so you like evaluate people or what? He's like, yeah, man, like I evaluate people. I determine like if they have mental issues or not. And I was like, damn, that's a pretty powerful position. He's like, yeah, it's very stressful. And so I wanted to know more about this guy. And so I said, what kind of books do you like? How do you educate yourself? Like, how do you know, like, and he's like, well, I don't really have time to read. I'm always working. I said, man, I bet that's crazy. I said, what about your family? He says, well, I don't really have a family, man. Me and my girlfriend, man, we're always fighting. Like, we're always having problems. This one girl, and like, he's telling me about his relationships. And I was like, man, it's pretty crazy, right? And I said, what do you do as hobbies, right? And he's like, man, I'm just like, I'm always like working. I'm always trying to do like, basically like the impression I got from the information he gave me, like he wasn't really in a credible position to put those labels on people. And I'm thinking, I'm like, man, this guy can really control someone's life. Like he has the ability to label someone and change their life forever. And it kind of stuck with me because I was like, man, that's pretty crazy, because I wonder if he's stable enough to understand what's going on. Think about that. Like he's not, like he wasn't stable enough for himself. How is he going to be able to tell someone else how to what condition they're in or what's going on? It really bothered me. And so what I discovered was I got sick and tired of living that life, because I had a label, and because I had this label given to me, I was living out certain characteristics on those labels. For example, they said, "Oh, you have tattoos. You know, you're you're a thug." So I was like, "Well, I'm a thug. So let me listen to thug music. Let me hang out with thugs. Let me do thug things. Let me do ratchet things." You know, and so I was acting out the labels that someone else had gave me, but those were false labels, and I believed those labels. It wasn't until I started to educate myself. I said, you know what? I'm going to start to educate myself, because I learned about self-education, that if you can self-educate yourself, you don't need someone to educate you. Whenever you decide to be in control of your life, take responsibility, you can educate yourself. Page 75, the E-Myth. I was reading that book. That book, I didn't understand anything from that book, but I just kept trying to read it. And I kept trying to like just force the stuff in my head. I was like, man, I need to get this stuff. I don't know exactly what it means right now, but eventually one day I'll get it. I was feeding myself with this stuff. I got to page 75. On page 75, it says, practice this principle. If you expect to be a leader, you have to remind yourself that you're a leader. You have to remind yourself daily that you're a leader. And so one of the exercises says, look yourself in the mirror and say, I am a leader. I am called upon to do the work of leadership, right? It says, and I'm like, all right, that sounds simple enough. So I understand that. So I just did it. And I did it again and again and again. And I just kept doing it. And what happened was those labels that people had gave me, they started to fade away, because I was relabeling myself. And pretty soon, like I had a label, but then I started to act out the characteristics of that label. I started to educate myself more. I said, I want to get better. I want to improve myself. So now I'm in control of myself. Now I'm in control of my label. I don't allow people's opinions to determine my label. Number 4 is, who do you want to be? I managed to build some powerful relationships over the last year. Elena Cardone, Sophia Castro, Brian Tracy, Rafael Vargas, Mike Coffey, Coach Burt, Tim Story, who else? Bobby Castro, Albert, Ed Milet, like some crazy relationships that I've been able to build. One day I got a call from Marlene Gartan, and she says, we're going to be in Dallas tomorrow. Do you want to fly out? Patrick wants to meet you. Patrick David wants to meet you. And I was like, I'll be there. Right. So my fear, I was like, you know what? It's a good thing. I'm going to go. My fear thing, that the way I dealt with fear. So I was like, I'm going to go. I didn't think about it. I said, I'm going to go, because I know that if I can get one thing from this, it will change my life. Flew to Dallas, went to Patrick David's headquarters. Remember my label, I was like a leader label, right? So I show up as a leader. I'm dressed, I'm prepared. I have my bag. I have gifts. I give them gifts. I show up as a leader. Okay. We sat down. We're talking about, hey, tell me about your business. Tell me what you're doing. And after a while, the room got silent, like because we hit a point where we were kind of like lost. I was lost. So I hit a point where it was territory that I hadn't really discovered yet. So I was lost. And he knew I was lost because my posture changed. I have a video of that. It's weird. I have a video of it, and I look at my posture, and I saw how my posture changed, and I knew he knew something. We were onto something. I knew I was on it, but I was willing to go there. I was willing to go deeper, and I said, I want to know more. He said, "Who do you want to be?" I said, "Who do you want to be? What do you mean?" He goes, "Nowadays, careers are distracting. Like you're in a career right now, but you're not fully invested in that career. And so you're kind of like dabbling with that career. You see someone else shine over here looking good. So you want to jump to that career. And then you find out you don't like that career. So you jump over here. You jump all your life." He's like, you never really decided to be an expert in your field. Like decide what you want to, who you want to be. So for example, if you're in sales, if you're in management, if you're HR, if you're whatever career you're in, are you the authority figure in that career, in that field? Are you someone that people look up to in that, and you're like the leading person in that career, in that industry? Because look, if you think about your career right now, the industry you're in, there's some person in that industry that you're like, man, that person is like the leading expert in my industry. You want to be that person. You want to strive to be that person. When you strive to be that leading expert in your industry, the influence and everything, the money will follow it. See, people are trying to chase the money, they're trying to chase the influence, but they're not trying to chase to be the top person in their industry and be their field. That's what Patrick Boudet was telling me. And that day changed my life. Belief. So we all get stuck here on belief because this is so powerful. Because a lot of times in life, we're fighting, like we feel like things are against us. Man, why is everybody against me? So a lot of times it's not people or your environment against you. It's yourself against you. It's what you want, like what you really want, but what you believe is possible, it doesn't align. So inside, you're fighting yourself. You're fighting this inner battle daily of what you want to be or what you want, but what you believe is possible. And so a lot of times people go through life just fighting with their self. So the same way you have to remind yourself that you're a leader, you have to remind yourself of your beliefs. This is what I believe. This is what I believe I'm possible. This is what I believe I'm going to do. And strongly believe it. Remind yourself daily. Hey, at night, just write down what you're going to do. Write down how it's going to happen. Say, this is what I believe is going to happen. This is going to happen. And this is going to it's going to happen. Like, and believe it so strong to where it almost puts out this energy, this glow. I was on a call with Tim Story the other day. Every time I get on the call with him, he's like, man, Stan, like you're glowing, like you have the energy, like I feel it, brother, I feel it. And I said, man, Tim, I just believe in myself so much, man. I said, I know that that I'm called to do something great, and I'm awake for it. I'm preparing for it. I'm sharing my story because I believe that I'm here to leave a legacy. I'm here to help someone change something with their life, with their family, with whatever. I'm here to share a message. And he's like, man, you're right. Like I can feel the energy. And so believe in yourself so much where other people start to believe in you. Because every day you're just showing up because you're like, you know what? I got to show up because this is what I believe that I'm meant to do. I got to show up. And the more you show up, the more you start to reprogram yourself to show up and to believe that you're able to accomplish those great things that you set out to do. Whatever you want to do, if you believe it strong enough, it'll happen. It'll happen. And so a lot of times too, it comes back to being present in the moment, right? You want to open a big company. You want to hire, 50 people. You want to invest in real estate. A lot of times we say, okay, you know what? We think of all the problems that might happen. You know what I mean? Or we think about the past. Oh, you know what? I know this guy that did this, this, and this. And so we kind of drown ourselves too much in the future and too much in the past. And when we do that, we get lost with the present. We're almost like zombies because we're lost too much in the future, or we're lost too much in the present. I admit for a while I was zombied out because I was so focused in the future. I neglected a lot of things. I neglected my health. I neglected my family. You know what I'm saying? And so now I got to stop and say, you know what? I got to be present for a minute. I got to be present for a moment and just stop and just appreciate like just what I got right now. And what can I do right now? What's the impact I can make right now? So being present in the moment is powerful because it comes back with your belief system, being present, not being too depressed, not have too much anxiety, and just relax yourself, man, and really believe in yourself, and it really will be possible. So I wanted to share that with y'all. Man, I have a lot of awesome stories that I can share with y'all, but I don't have that much time today. But I appreciate y'all's time watching. Massive action. People ask what massive action is. Massive action is just doing that one thing every day. Like it's almost like the compound effect. I highly suggest the compound effect. Massive action is the same thing. It applies the same way. Get up and just take massive action. Just take up and just show up a little better every day. Just do a couple more reps. Get that extra workout in. Spend that extra time. Invest in yourself a little bit more. Read one more book. Read one more page. Listen to one more podcast. Write down your goals one more day. Like just keep it that massive action. You know what I'm saying? Remind yourself, every day. And eventually what's going to happen is it's going to have a compound effect. I'll share a story really quick. One of our guys here, he's going through a big transition. At one point he was stuck. We managed to get his momentum going again. He's flowing now. He's flowing. He's getting the momentum going better and better and better. And one thing that he always remembers, he says, man, I always remember what you told me. He said, show up. And I said, that's right, man. You just got to show up. Turns out that he tells that to his son now. Before game or before school, hey, son, just show up, son. Just show up. The other day, before a football game, he was on his phone with his son. Son was in the locker room. And he says, hey, son, all you got to do is show up, execute. His son got the most tackles. His son had and my friend started crying. My partner started crying. He's like, man, dude. I said, you know what? I said, it's not you. Imagine that one thing that you told him. You just told him show up, but you believed in that so much that he applied it in his life, and he showed up to the game and he executed. Just imagine when he has kids. Just imagine when his kid is gonna go to apply for this big job, a big career change, and his dad says, "Hey, son, just show up, son. Dad, you gotta show up, son. Just show up." And give it your all. That's how you leave a legacy. It's a simple things, but they make a big impact. Massive action, guys. Apply massive action in your day. Apply massive action in your life, your family, and your health, in your mind. We have a massive action booklet that I want to introduce y'all to. I'll leave a link below. But basically what it is like every week, every Wednesday, I'll do a live webinar and we go through the same things every 4 weeks. We add to it and we just grow together. It's almost like you're taking care of your garden, your mental garden. We go in there and we plant some new seeds. We get rid of some weeds. We make sure that we're getting the right water. We'll make sure we're getting the right sun. We'll make sure that we're getting rid of those bugs. We'll make sure we're getting those pests. We're making sure we're getting rid of those rodents from coming in, because they'll come in on you, man, when you least expect it. When you least expect it, those rodents will try to make their way into your mind. Got to make sure we eliminate those. So, hey, guys, till next time, massive action.